All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. I hope you had a good weekend. If I did not catch you for the art stream or for the stream that I did with Havoc, we're going to be playing some more Code Vein today. Um, we're going to be fighting Mido, who is an asshole, and I can't wait to bop him. I accidentally triggered the cutscene last night by accident. So what we're gonna do is let me hop on over here to the game and let me turn off the music. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the bathhouse and I will play the cinematics basically that triggered when I accidentally ran into his. So. Chat here. Hey, Feisty, how's it going? Thanks for joining my stream yesterday. Don't know if my mic was working, but I appreciate it. Kind of working on it slowly, just having fun mostly. Volume was probably on mute too, since you were working anyway. Yeah, I didn't hear your voice at all, but I did eventually ended up muting it anyway. Um, since I was working on stuff. So yeah, you're right. But you're welcome. Try to support all my friends. You guys come all the time to, hang out in my streams. The least I can do is try to show up when I have the opportunity to catch you guys. So, hey, Pensy, how's it going? No, you're sick. No, no. I'm gonna have to send you positive energy. But yeah, this is what I actually, I was thinking maybe there's an area before me, though. Nope. Let me know if you guys can hear the game, too. I might have to turn the volume up. Vegeta. I like how Mido went from being like bald and like 5'2" to like 7 feet tall. And a standee. Oh no. What were you playing, Patsy? Oh, are you playing Claire Obscura still? Your crew. They had beehives in them. Yeah, I need to play that. Really looking forward to it. So much blood. That's a hell of a throne, Jesus Christ. And Morton Silva instead of Morton Joe there. For you guys who haven't watched Mad Max Fury, it looks like a Morton Joe. Yeah, the chair's ridiculous. I like how he just sits on it all day. That's all he does. He just sits there. That's his job. Yeah, for sure. I think this is the only time back with Coco's outfit now. Oh, I'm sure. That's a long ass ride, man. Like when we used to drive to my hometown, it was like if I was with my parents, it was like a 10 to 12 hour drive. If I drove or my brother drove, though, we used to make it there in like 7 or 8 hours. So these guys just finding them. It's still a long time to be in a car, regardless of like the condition. Ooh. Hopefully you didn't see anything gnarly like any bodies. No, no, no. I like how they just forgot that there were monsters they were fighting. Ooh. At least it was covered. If you had dropped the blood beads, you probably could have made it. Yeah, they were just playing fetch, you know, with bodies. Oh, probably because of his mask. Can you hear the audio, like them talking? Can't hear the people. Shit. Well, damn it. Alright, I'll have to turn up the volume on the game. I'm sorry. Man, I played that whole thing there, thinking you guys could hear it. Well. Hear the game and epic music. Okay. Let me get out of here, and I can't game setting. Out of the top of the hot tub. Yeah, there's voice acting that goes along with it. Alright, let me turn up the sound settings. Settings. Super loud. If you guys can't hear what anybody's saying, then, you know, no point. So, now that we watched that, I'm sorry you guys couldn't hear it. I'm a scuff streamer, oh my god. We're gonna go fight this bastard. And hopefully I'll win. That's okay, I turned it all up now, so all the sounds should be more clear. This is probably not the best way to play the jump into a boss battle without any warm-up, but we're gonna see how we do. Oh, shit, I need to push my partner. I want Yakumo to beat his ass, so. Especially since Mido is the one that turned all of his friends into monsters. So, Yakumo. Also, Yakumo's really good as a tank, so. Gonna slap your cheeks, Mido, for being a bad, bad guy. And turn my sword sideways and just spank you.
Don't run too far ahead.
Yeah. So...
It's a big help.
Here. Right.
Let's bring it any time.
To the fruit of my research.
Well.
Hey, you
He
okay?
just slapped the shit out of me. Okay. Forget it this time. Jesus Christ. He hit me so hard.
Your gear might not be cutting it.
Shut up, Yakima. We almost did it. Almost did it.
Hold on.
I think I need to
I'm
be
on
a
my
little,
way.
little more aggressive. So. Alright, let's see.
Ah, appreciate it. No harm in being prepared.
Will be reduced to ash!
So hard.
Here I got
Even swings here. It hurts. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him. Yeah.
That's that, I guess.
Eat my ass. We did it. You're a bitch. You're right. Bitch does start with a B. Hell yeah. You can walk it off, yeah. Useless Mia here. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, they could set up their little, like, new home, like, in front of the throne, so I'm not, like, bored. They could just talk to me.
Glad we didn't lose that.
Got my tiny little bit of haze back. I'm glad I spent all of it before. Man, I'm so glad I get to advance though. I've been grinding so much and I haven't been able to like upgrade anything because now I need like a much higher level material.
Sorry. Moving out. That's a real gem.
This.
Not budging, is it? We can return later.
Oh, okay. So that I need. Special stuff. That. There is some DLC too that I don't have. Debating whether I want to grab it or not. I don't know. I mean, I do like the game, so maybe I will. Oh my god. Stairs forever. Why? At least I'll have the beefiest legs of all time.
Don't run too far ahead.
And I gotta go up a ladder.
Time to head on up. Our objective is that building, huh?
Oh, I see something big up there, like, immediately.
Pick up something we can use? Red in the sky isn't normal.
See a guy up there. Okay, so... Well, I need to finish up that, so... I'll keep this one.
Make sure you're good and set before we go.
Pioneer's guidance so I can master things faster. Flash. What is that? Never used that one. Okay. There it is. Oh. This one's... Alright, let's see what this skill does. Oh! That would have been helpful. I should have used that. That would have been really helpful. Fuck me, right? Okay. So happy I have a new area to find. I guess. Yeah. Oh boy.
Something
like
strange happened here.
Yeah, I can't get up there yet. I kick that down. So.
Uh-huh. Enemy. Bring it any time.
Hi, boy. Radar there. My vampire radar. I guess it makes
cramped
sense.
in here. Let's hurry on.
Like
Not great in tight quarters.
So far, pretty easy. I mean, it helps that I have a maxed out weapon, so.
like we're in for a rough
Oh,
time.
hi. That's a big raider.
How much farther until the surface?
Other
No harm, much fly.
bitch. Ow. Whoa, 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 whoa.
So let them back you into a corner.
Oh, wait, there's another one. Where the hell is this shot from? Oh my god, over there. Oh no. Oh no. That's right, Yuck. Keep me alive. God, there's one over here too. Jesus. It's everywhere. Ow, I was behind him. Fucking hell.
That didn't take too much effort.
Yeah, okay, man.
You have to take whatever you can use.
Christ.
Bring it anytime.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was doing fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, you know, fuck Anarchy. Like, he thinks he's so cool. We have to remind him that he's not. Of course, it wouldn't be like a Souls-like game if it didn't, so... I know what I signed up for here. Oh my god, 4 of them.
How's this?
Good job, yeah. Doing all the work. Gotta use some more of my picker here. Heat-seeking fireballs. Give me instead. Oh, dude. Not popping down there yet.
Oh, that's... Sorry.
I'm glad that was
Moving out.
somewhere I
Choose
could
your
pull.
ground well.
Yeah, because I just leap in face.
Stop. Oh, not bad.
On frame rate. Back to normal. Why are you messing up? Oh, I see you. You gonna come up? You're just gonna stay there? Okay. That's fine. Oh, you come up. Ow! Oh my god. Asshole. I was like trying to see if he was coming and like the camera angle. Couldn't tell.
Slipping here is a one-way ticket to hell.
Yeah, man. I can see that. Have eyes, Yakima. Oh my god. Smack the shit out of me. Go back to thing and heal soon.
Pick up something we can
Hit
use?
me really hard.
A lot of this stuff hasn't been touched. It's hard to see up ahead.
Bring it anytime.
Need him. I wish that when I got him with that attack, it would also heal me. Oh wait, I have a skill healing kill an enemy. Maybe I should equip that. That would probably. Well, sacrifice a little.
I hope we don't get caught here. You've used a lot of healing. Be careful from here on. We should find better ground.
Oh my brain. Why is it like 3 frames per second?
You're out of healing? Going home's always an option.
I know that's the whole. Come on, computer, what are you struggling with? What's going on?
Hey, that's...
Ooh, a tungsten. Oh yeah. I need that.
We should find better ground.
Yeah, let's
No harm in being prepared.
You got this, right, Yakima?
You demonstrated your skills nicely.
Yeah. Never say, dude. I'll take a compliment I don't deserve. Leave me alone, I'm trying to get my vestige.
I must find my successors.
Ooh. Don't die, Yakima.
Not great if I bring it anytime.
Just want to make it.
Good stuff.
That should
a
be
real
another
gem.
deal. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yay, a heal.
Prepare to get a little rude.
Oh.
We
rate.
have to take
I'm so
whatever
sorry,
you can use.
guys.
I see something.
I don't know why it's crazy. Game's like so old, my computer should be able to like just power through it. Then again, my computer is also... Ooh, okay.
Destination's
So we can do
still far
this,
off.
Go down the ladder and then get healed.
Let's open it up and see, shall we?
Ooh, every grace now. Okay. It's got some stuff. It looks a little fanciful, but you know, it's fun.
We don't have to jump down anymore.
As I jump.
Huh. Here's a good place to rest.
Frame rate. Can he not? Jesus. I don't understand what's making it. Job. Close. Scope. See if I can make this work a little better. Kind of like pissing me off. Score. Is this keep up? Word. Let's see. Okay, that should. Over. All right. Hopefully. Because I turned off some of like the background stuff that I did not need, and that I was even running. So
Wouldn't want to fall here.
Good thing I'm right next to the save point. Just go get my haze
back up, huh?
That sucked. Alright. So there's guys with guns. They are...
Hold on. I'm on
Yo.
my way. Bring it anytime. Appearances can be deceiving, I guess. Good. Let me grab that.
I don't know what's going on with my computer, so I'm so sorry that this is like choppy. Just know that it is also annoying me.
We should find better ground. Oh, not bad.
I missed.
Hold on. I'm on my way.
Prioritize the ranged. Ranged will pick away at me one.
Let's keep it up.
I don't have to, but I like to pick up all the shinies, otherwise my
Far ahead. Pick up something we can use.
ADHD will go. It's the like, no, grab all the shinies. Let's figure out how to go up.
We should find better ground.
So I imagine
Bring it any.
that'd be something. Ooh, that was slick. Ah, dog. Hell yeah. Somewhere.
How's this?
Get him.
No one there.
Fireball cheesed.
I don't want to be stuck
Probably.
fighting between containers.
We're not. Son of a bitch. I could have swore that was the way I needed to go. Oh, wait. Then down there. Hmm. Sure, I've been up that way too. Immediately lost it. Here. Let's see.
Sorry. Moving out. Threat spotted.
Or maybe there's a ladder. Let's see. Wait, there's a path around here. Aha! Yeah, found it.
Bring it any time. You have to take
Oh,
whatever
I see
you
you
can
around
use.
the corner there. Get him, fireballs. It hurts so bad. Oh my god. Come on, give me more tungsten. Yeah. I mean, I
The
can
enemy's lined
use
up
the
along the edge.
titanium. Some other stuff, but tungsten.
The decision is yours. No harm in being prepared.
Okay.
The Lost are over there. All these boxes are suspicious as hell.
You did all the work, buddy. Thank you.
Wow. Very good eye.
I appreciate you. This is why you're the best partner you're wearing.
Bring it anytime.
Dodge was slick.
Here's a fight that looks interesting. Not 19.
Yes. I love it when I'm able to do that all, but it's like
That was a serious letdown.
was it? I mean, I thought it pretty well. I mean, I know you're disappointed it wasn't harder, but I like it when you need
Hey,
to
that's-
you really need to work. You're gonna get me killed. Being on the game. Really don't know what it is that could be bugging my computer down. It's not like the game is like
Let's head on down.
concerning. Oh yeah, the Yakamari. Yep. What the? I'm gonna jump off the edge. Doesn't stop.
Pick up
Not on
something we can
purpose,
use.
but what the hell? What is frame rate? It's insane. No, I don't get it. I don't know what is causing it.
Fighting here would be a bad idea.
Excellent. Oh my god. What? What? Why is this like this? What is happening? I think what I'll do is I will I don't know if it... This is like... I'm sure it's not great for you guys either. I can't even tell what's going on. What the fuck? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on right now. It's frozen. I might be dead. I don't know what's happening. Oh my god. Hashtag get Aniki a new PC, please. Really? What is going on, man? I don't understand here. I think you got me first. Oh, I'm still alive. Like stuck in a lock animation. Can't undo it. The fuck? There we go. Alright, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a Vivifier, go back to a save point. I'm gonna save, I'm gonna reload the game, and I'm gonna see if that makes sense. Sorry about this, guys. This is really irritating. It's my save. Quit real quick, and then restart the game, and hopefully that will make a difference. Yeah, my computer's it's because it's really old. PCs are just so expensive right now. Like I literally like in order to upgrade it, I'd have to completely start from I'd have to start over. I'd have to build a whole new PC. My motherboard is like so old. It's not like I could just like slap like a new processor on there. At least I don't think so. I don't think that would make sense. Because I'm not sure even like a new processor would be able to attach to my motherboard because it's so old. So I don't know. It kind of sucks because like if it gets too janky, I might just have to do just art streams, which sucks because I really like playing games, and I think that
Let's
it's
do our
like
best
a
out
good
there.
like change of pace, you know. And you guys hanging out with me while I play games like makes me happy because it's like I get somebody to talk to, you know. All right, here's hoping it works better. So.
Don't run too far ahead. Take one at a time. There.
Better.
Hold on. I'm on my way.
Wait. Back in. It's around here.
Bring it any time.
Looks like it's doing like way better. So that's good.
Doesn't look like there are too many enemies
So
down
we
there.
went around last time.
Not an idea. Take them down one at a time. That didn't take too much effort.
Yeah, monkeys are pretty easy. This. So yeah, literally this is where Aura's where it got away. Oh, then. Oh my god, he hits him. I mean, he does have a giant splat here, so
Hey, that's...
makes sense.
Don't let them back into your corner.
First off, just like,
Stop.
alright, we're gonna shoot.
Well, let's mosey. There's no harm in being prepared.
Okay, sure. Just trying to get this guy.
You have to take whatever you can use.
Okay, so.
Sorry. Moving out.
You don't have to apologize. Hey, mate.
Wow. Very good eye.
Okay. So. I hate using so many heals already. It's like.
That white lost isn't like...
Just hit so hard. If they hit me like even once. Yeah. Ooh, good. I can hold back here. Hell yeah. Level up. Yeah, you don't know. I could be just like kicking my computer the whole
It's
time.
too
I'm
early to
playing
let our guards down.
a big old clown shoes. So
Bring it any time.
wouldn't even think. Get them, fireballs. You can do it. Eat it.
Nice work, Eagle Eye.
Eagle eye. You don't know me. I wear glasses. No eagle eye at all.
Took us long enough, but we're here.
That looks like a boss. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that looks like a boss. Oh, it's like that's the only way left I can go. Yeah. Hopefully we're gonna down this like field boss in one go here.
Big help.
Holy crap. No. Oh, he slapped me so hard. Well, that didn't go well.
Oh, you're up again.
You too, man. Shut up. Yeah, that hurt. Okay. Let's see what we do here to...
Make sure you're good and set before we go.
Maybe on that guy. I don't know. He not only two-shotted me, but he two-shotted Yakumo. So that's pretty crazy. It's gonna make a huge amount. I mean, you can try to help me. Might be able to. Maybe if I like put one up. Or oh no, I roasted Mido on the second try. Even more HP on you. I am in the provisional government outskirts. If I can. gave us a lot more help. In distress, so Epic's gonna pop in and help me out here. So stretch. Oh. Surely this time. The only thing that sucks is like. Yeah, come on. Let's build here. Those in. Oh, you're back. Sure. I'm just gonna.
Sorry. Moving out. Time for some payback, huh?
Right. Why not, right? Nice. Hell yeah. I like it.
Bring it any time. Leave it to me.
Absolutely dickhole trigger. Alright. There was nothing I could do there. He just got me in the corner, teleported again.
You okay?
Okay. Well, we did do better than we did the first time, so. No, we did really well. I
That
think
gear
that was
might not be
fine.
cutting it.
I needed to just need to hit him more. I mean, you can use your hammer if you want, but I feel like we did pretty well. Like we almost had him.
You ready for this?
Yeah, it was close. We got it this time. We're gonna do it. Let's get some water in the meantime. Wait. Alright, yeah. You should actually tank this. If I don't get it, let's go to the hot tub and get half of it. I feel like I had like a huge amount of it anyway. There we go. Let's see here what's in here. Big old hammer.
Ah, I appreciate it. Bring it anytime.
There, let's do this.
Ready.
Eat it. You bitch. Thank you so much, Havoc. I appreciate it. My wonderful wife, everybody. Comes in
Wait
to
a
beat the
moment.
ass.
That lost left a vestige behind.
Oh?
There is something somehow familiar about it.
Is it yours?
I would like to know what memories it contains. Would you show them to me?
Hell yeah, more of Io's memories.
I know that there is a monster growing inside of me. I know, but am I strong enough to beat it? I won't run. I can't run.
Oh,
I have to keep fighting.
poor Cruz.
It shouldn't be like this. I can't fail him. I would be betraying everyone, even my father. But this monster is too much for me. I can't fight it.
Did they even get to use the queen to fight any of the horrors, or does she frenzy even before that?
Someone help me. Please.
Louis the worst, don't ask
Destroy
me.
me. I need you to do this for me. If you can't, then I'm sorry. In the end, I wasn't strong enough. Now everyone is. Still, if you can help me atone for my sin, please help those who are suffering. If you can ease their burden, even if it's only a little.
I mean, that looked like it was Io. Gotcha.
So, that gives me some explanation. Her desire to comfort and support the afflicted, mixed with the despair she felt for her own situation. It was Cruz's vestige that had created the attendance of the relics. She was afraid the same mistake would occur again. That's why we can only remain by their sides. We are incomplete. Please, take me with you to where Silva is. As the Queen, Cruz's existence was one long, constant struggle. She fought until the very end against the monster inside her, desperate to save revenants from their thirst. I want to deliver salvation, not just consolation. I want to bring about all of the wishes Cruz had for her people. The wishes of the attendants, of my sisters. I want to be the one who finally makes them a reality. I know that this is not part of my duty, but even so,
Why do you wear a
it is
broken man?
something I need. Something my heart cries out for. So, if it isn't too much to ask, please.
Ooh. Hell yeah. Nice. Now I have the coins.
Good. We grab that.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Put that on right now. Presents. It's gifts, so. I don't know how good that is, but I'll do it. Light impulse. Right away. Hell yeah. Cruz's blood code, different than the queen. Oh, okay. I guess I'll put it on so I can level it. HP. Ooh, that's useful. If I did that in combination lifesteal, seems like it'd be pretty good.
Check my back.
There we go. And soul. Let's see. Let's see. Whip. Are all her skills? Huh. That's a lot. I maxed out one. I know. Havoc is definitely an expert. Alright, now I can just pick whatever skills I want otherwise. That's cool. Poison. Bird. pretty well against these. Voice. Alright. Let's teleport back, see if I can upgrade anything. And continue on here. Keep trudging along.
What happened? I thought I heard strange cries in the distance. I hope it was only my imagination.
Whoops. I have a bad habit of just
Which
like
blood veil do
smashing
you want to
my
upgrade?
button here. Oh wait.
Make sure you get back safe.
Yeah. Playhouse. Rest of the skills. This makes me. What's that? See if we can.
Don't- Which blood veil do you want to upgrade?
Or
What
I
do you
could
wanna upgrade?
Maybe another. No. Could max out Yakumo. Ooh, I forgot that I got Mido's soul. Max out Io's. Use Yakumo. Go ahead.
Which weapon do you want to transform?
Prohibit.
Make sure you get back safe.
Perfect. So as a secondary, in case I go a little faster. Spin. Salt up here in case I switch. Okay, cool. Probably equals
It'll be okay.
different.
I know you can do it. Relax. It'll be okay. Relax. No matter what happens, we'll always be right there with you. We're here to help too. Don't try to do it all by yourself.
Thanks, man.
I know it's only been a short time since we met, but it feels like we've been together a long time. I know what I have to do, so you only need to focus on moving forward with what you're doing. I'll watch your back, no matter what. Let me...
Louis.
I've got a
Your
whole new
boyfriend.
line of stock in, thanks to my Herculean efforts. But seriously, you've made my job a whole lot easier. If you want it, I got it.
Less mean steel now. But all the
Go out there.
Medium.
I hope that a day will come when humans and revenants can work together and join hands in fellowship. I'm sure it will take a very long time, assuming it ever does become a reality. Still, it's one more reason we can't allow the world to come to an end.
Yeah, Eva's so hot. In fact,
Understood.
I'm gonna bring Eva
We
with
have
me.
to.
Now I am a shield to defend you, as well as your sword. Use me as you will.
You're not a
The
shield,
situation-
You're a glass cannon, buddy.
When
I
it
know
is
better.
time to go to Silva, I would ask that you take me with you. I do not simply wish to be present. there is a message that I must deliver. If it is not a problem, then please.
Alright, well, before I get this alive, just because she asked so nicely. Ooh, skill from this.
No, I cannot let myself fall here, in this place. I must find my successor. I must defend my successor. I have to go on.
That was the shortest one ever. I mean, I'll take it. That totally works for me.
I suppose many attendants must have met the same fate, struggling to be with their successors, but turned to ash without ever meeting them. And it could have been the same for me. If I had made one mistake, I would have been doomed as well. The attendants, they could only live in accordance with their mission. It's possible they might have been able to survive if they had only chosen another way.
Yeah, that's a good point. If they had literally done anything else, they probably could have survived. Alright, let's see. Get the Oh, I don't have enough buff. No! Increases amount of HP healed by regen. Ooh, that's really nice. I have to find the rest of her vestiges too before the final bosses. So, alright, let's move on. Alright, so that's the way I came.
Are you sure you have everything? This place has really changed.
Hopefully Eva will help since she has a lot of like ranged attacks, and I feel like a lot of their ranged are ones
I'm
that
on my
were,
way.
Fucking me up. Holy shit, that's a lot better.
Let's give Davis the map of the depths.
Ooh, I got a new depths. Hell yeah. I have to do that. But it looks like I got a quest them too.
You're a quick one.
I am not sure. Looks like I'm starting to go in maybe the final area?
Completely drained of blood.
Okay, now I'm in the center, so I'm on my way to the center.
The security enforcement unit. How awful.
This is where the shit comes out of the walls, right? Stabs me. Hey, Eddie, how's it going?
Let's hurry, before the place comes down on top of our heads.
Welcome to the stream.
I'm going into a dangerous place. I underestimated you. I hope we find more things we can use. It
No,
won't open.
It's not open. It's not.
Not a lot of freedom here.
Oh, hi. God damn it. Oh, you want to help me in here? Okay. distress. Let's see. Oh, I completely whiffed that. Oh my god. Ow. Damn. Hurts. Other guy. I literally just killed him. Christ.
That went about as well as I'd
Beat my
expected.
ass.
You were awfully attentive.
Oh, I saw a shiny here. Okay, I'm coming. Yeah. Feel like crazy already.
Oh, is that?
Ooh, a tungsten. Hell yeah. Perfect.
That's almost sad.
Oh, there's the roots in here. God damn it. It's picking up the items. Oh, what the hell? Hit me again.
We'll have to stay on our toes here.
That's so annoying.
I see Lost on patrol.
Are you fighting somebody? Oh.
Thanks.
Man, stuff in this area does a lot of damage. I mean, shouldn't be a surprise, because I think this is finally.
It's finally open, huh?
I need to heal real quick. Sorry. It's harder than truck. Yeah.
Are you
Okay,
double checking
I'm all good.
everything?
You want to come back? Yeah. Welcome back.
Jess, you're thoughtful. Not a lot of freedom here. I hope we find more things we can use.
Probably end up grinding at some point in this area. So close every time. Takes like the ass hairs off my cheeks. Okay, I'm going this way.
Thanks. That's pretty rare.
Ooh, interesting. Let's- All right. Let's check that in.
I won't be long.
But, oh, we already clicked.
Find something good?
Alright, so beginning. Didn't go this way.
An attack could come from any direction. Watch out.
Looks like.
You might want to practice hiding. Just watch.
Let's see here.
That helps. Stay out of our way. Take this! We can't die in a place like this, can we?
Mean. I think it's wholly possible.
Watch out for roots near bodies.
No. Roots are so fucking rude.
You might want to practice hiding. I'm going.
Oh shit, there's roots behind this. So rude. That's the rudest thing ever. No, no, Pensy.
That was too tight.
You've had it way too many times. It's illegal for you to have it again.
Oh, I almost missed that.
Do you have any, pests? Jesus. So many times. I feel so bad.
You're thoughtful. This is a dangerous place to fight. Keep it up. This is a dangerous place to fight. I hope we find more things we can use.
I heal so quickly. Explore.
I'll let you decide how we
Okay.
proceed.
Hold on. Am I hallucinating? There are still revenants that can move around in this chaos. I don't know what outfit you're with, but can you help me gather some important documents? Silva is beginning to frenzy, and the effect is causing all the revenants nearby to lose themselves. I'm human, so I don't have to worry about joining the lost. Fleeing here was the best I could do. So, if you could bring me any documents you come across, I'd really appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Oh. Let's see.
You're a quick one.
Ow.
Keep an eye on walls next to bodies.
Thought I could reach here. Bro.
I'm on my way.
Oh.
I wonder where it leads. Do you have enough healing left?
You know what? I do need to heal real. So can't wait till you finish your new hair. and
How's
become
our
the
mission
complete
going?
Demon Lord. I'm gonna run to the restroom while I wait for you to come back. I'll be right back, guys. Super quick. Okay, I'm back. All right. I'm back to get my ass beat some more. A good call on you. Chemical.
There might be something through here.
Yeah, but Septa can't go
Looks
through
like
there.
some soldiers can still move. I'm going in.
Oh shit.
So many of them.
Where did they all come from?
You are the carrier of the blood. Find something good?
All right. I already have that, but
You were awfully attentive.
oh, I have Mido.
Let's get through here quickly.
Nothing super helpful there. Okay.
I won't be long. Watch out for roots near bodies.
You can do it, Havoc. I believe in you. Hell yeah. There's more right here.
Just watch.
Beautiful. No, Eva. Poor Eva.
Looks tough.
Big lady
Let's be
in
careful.
here. We should probably kill her.
Thanks. Not a lot of freedom here.
That was a tough fight. Oh wait, oh no, it's a sunset hammer, the most like rare item in the game. We could have missed it. So I went down that. So that's what
We've got Mido.
not me.
Thanks. I'm going in. Find something good? I've always hated heights.
Yes.
You were awfully attentive. I've got this. You're observant.
Better here. Oh, that's...
We could use a ladder to get down.
Yeah, we could even.
I'm no fool.
Smash all the things. Really? We have left on him. Still so loving. Sneaky, cheeky bastards.
Oh, is that? I'm going in.
Damn. This opens the door back. Oh, it doesn't open inside.
I hope we find more things we can use. Oh, I almost missed that.
Okay. There.
Okay, let's keep going.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
Ooh, another map. Wait, why is there music like we're fighting someone? Oh, he's down here.
you look pretty low on healing. Do you want to press on?
Ooh,
Oh,
another phone
is
stick.
that?
Oh yeah. Alright, I've got one more heal. So maybe go a little bit. I mean, Eva gets a pass because she's like
What's
super
that?
hot, so she can tell me whatever she wants. Shine. Right past.
It's open.
Alright. Let me get my heals back. Some haze. Okay, good. I'll probably play for about 15 more minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. See if we can make a little more progress. That's might help. let's do that. There. Got our shieldy boy to help us.
Okay, let's get this task done.
Best boy. Hell yeah. Hey, no.
Can we
All
cut down
the
these roots?
Spawn down here. Or I could go this way. You're right. Web tells me so
Just
much
as ordered.
without having to say a
New
word.
ladder.
Hi.
Much obliged.
He's so rude. He's trying to slap you off the edge.
Time to kick ass. Hey, that's
Monstead. Oh yeah. I will.
appreciate it. Got something we can use?
Stone castle. Not what I expected from the outside.
You don't mind if I do. Here. Mr. Lost.
This place is pretty open, huh? That's pathetic
Get up.
disguise. Thanks, friend.
Oh, I see. I was like, where? Music. Then with the jumpy slap.
That's a pathetic disguise.
Okay, wrap it up. Yep. The sunset sword. So rare. Alright. Watch out. Yeah, there's 100% spiky. Did I miss something over there? Oh, there's a shiny.
Don't run too far ahead. You have to take whatever you can use. Sorry. Moving out.
Alright, so up here, there are tentacles.
Get ready and let's move.
So many pillars.
Stand out like a sore thumb.
That's a real gem. That's a pathetic disguise.
There you go, some of the hanging guys will drop too.
No harm.
Ow! Hell. See me around the block before. That's so rude. Tentacles. I feel like we're making pretty good progress though.
There's a guard here. Want to sneak through? Big help. Hey, that's... We don't have to jump down anymore.
Heal a little bit. Still got a lot of my heals, so that's good. Should we go down the ladder first, or should we continue? Let's go down the ladder, because we can always come back up the ladder. Let's go.
That's a pathetic disguise. Bring it anytime. Nice work, Eagle Eye.
What's up here? This is the longest ladder of all time.
Hold on. I'm on my way.
It's back here. Alright. Let's go back. I've been this way. I have a good amount of heals left. I have 8 left, so we can press on. Decided that I have 2 new depths maps.
It's standing there like it owns the place.
Yeah, come on, so that.
I got it. I appreciate it. You have to take whatever you can use. There's some lost up on that beam. Keep an eye on our rear.
Oh. Oh, okay. Oh no, the shinies are on.
Sorry. Moving out. Would it be safe to fall from up here? Not an ideal
Oh. No, they're not. Go up and around again. Okay. This time. Where's the up? Oh no, there's dudes out there. Up there. It's this one.
Don't run too far ahead.
Okay. I can do my drop down.
Wouldn't want to fall here.
There's two different ones. Drop down this one. Of course those guys are alive. Why would- Damn it, wrong way. Keep running the wrong way. I'm so sorry. Alright, I got one more drop down to do. I ran the wrong way. Fuck.
Keep an eye on our rear.
Last drop down. Like, mocking me. Oh, and there was fucking tentacles there. That is so rude. Wow. Okay. Okay. That is the shittiest crap. Alright, so I gotta get it and then dodge immediately. Fucking assholes. Who made this game are jerks. Or, okay. So I don't even get time. Have to do the fast roll dodge. Okay. This better be an item that's worth it, or I'm gonna be so bad. Alright, one more try. It's so fucking shitty. I went the wrong way again. Son of a bitch. Fast roll dodge. Do that. This time. Let's see.
Hey, that's...
Oh, it was tungsten. Hell yeah, I'll take that. Okay. Now that I'm finished being dumb, we can go ahead and go. It's the wrong one. This one.
It's a big help. No harm, Pick up something we can use?
Like this. Did he get to a drop down? Sure, but probably. Full figure.
How did they even get here? Sorry. Moving out.
So this is where
Stay
we
away
did
from the
drop
edge,
down.
okay?
Down there is. I don't know. Oh, over here.
Lost.
I did not.
Choose your
mean-
ground well.
Shit. I just jumped off. Oh. Ooh, tungsten. You're getting really lucky with that. Come on, buddy. Jump down. You know you want to. Right here. Come get me. Happy I'm getting so much tungsten. Awesome.
Ah, I appreciate it.
We did it. No, I fell. Fuck. Wait, was that the only shiny up there? Oh god, it'll bring me back. There. One last loop around up there.
Your healing doesn't look too good. Don't take any chances.
I know. Okay, specific.
Hold on. I'm on my way.
That means something.
Mind your step now. Branch in the path. Pick up something we can use? Stand out. Bring it in.
Yakima. I mean, we're alive, but barely.
Uh-huh. Want to rest?
Hey, hell yeah. Alright, I think this is a good place to call it. Oh, they say nothing. Alright, let me throw you guys in the lobby so we can do a little wrap up here. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today while I played some Code Vein. We got to smack the shit out of Mido on the second try there, so that was nice and satisfying, and Havoc helped me get pretty far, so thank you so much, Havoc, I appreciate it. If you like the kind of content I do, please follow me to see when I go live. Consider subscribing. That would help me out tremendously. I will be back again at the same time tomorrow to continue to play some more of this. And then on Wednesday, of course, I'll be working more on the Yakumo and Emily fan art. And also probably Friday if I don't get it done Wednesday. Um, I also have a VGen sale, which is live. It's 50% off if you want to get some artwork for me. That'd be awesome. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye 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 bye.